Oh. Hello there. Back for another live stream. This time I am joined by itinerant fur baby, Bree. We'll see how long she stays on my lap this time. She's a sweet little old lady. Anyway, here we go. She's doing the thing. Anytime that she feels like I'm not petting her enough, she will brush my arm with her paw like that. She's very cute. She was about to do it again. Anyway, you're not here to watch cats. You're here to watch me drawing stuff, which is what I'm about to do. Introductions. Hi, I'm Kelsey. I make comics. Today, I'm actually working on an illustration. This thing has been a work in progress for the last couple of live streams. So I'm really hoping that I can finally finish the line art for this today. Yes, honey. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Bree wants pets. So, okay. Without further ado, let us return to the witch's study. The line arts for this are almost done. The only thing left that I gotta do. Oh, okay. Bree is done. The only thing left that I gotta do is the books. Excuse me. Sorry. I just finished half of a burrito. So, but all I got left are these bookcases. Or not the bookcases, but like the books in the bookcase. That's what I have left. Hi, Carlos. Good to see you in the comments. Yeah, the only thing left that I got to handle is this section over here, which it's going to be a lot of lines and also a lot of perspective finagling. Because there's at least 2-point perspective going on here, if not 3-point. So that'll be fun. This is not going to be the most perfect perspective ever. Like, I can guarantee you that if my current comics editor saw this, she would probably be like, you could fix this and this and this and this and this. But she's not here right now. So we're just going to draw. That's all we're going to do. We're going to draw. All right. Just to make this a little easier, I am going to use the straight line tool. I would freehand these, but like you don't need to see me hitting undo multiple times on the same book. I would like to ask how everybody is doing. Shout it out in the comments how y'all are doing. So far, I've been okay. I actually started a new-ish side gig. I left the craft supply store that I worked at, and I'm now working part-time at the Chipotle that's down the road from me. The nice thing about the gig is that I've been able to ride my bike 9 times out of 10 to get there, which is really, really nice. It helps make up for the fact that I haven't been to the gym for several weeks now. I do need to go back to the gym. I need to get back to lifting. It's been a hot minute since I lifted, at least over a week. So don't tell the gym that. But at the same time, that's how gyms make their money. They bank on you not showing up. That's how gyms make their money, which is a tactic. Come to think of it. Anyways, yes, I've been biking back and forth to the Chipotle that I work at part-time now, and it has been nice to get that regular exercise in. It's also been really nice to not drive. I'm actually going to do those lines a little differently, but it has been really nice to not drive. For one thing, I like having the fresh air. For another thing, I like not wasting the gas money. For another thing, I like not burning gas. Not unless I have to. I've only started driving if the trip that I got to take is over 5 miles away from my apartment. I wish I could get away with biking more. Unfortunately, this part of Toledo that I am in isn't exactly bike commuter friendly. Maybe one day it will be, and maybe if I present enough photo evidence to city council to be like, hey, maybe consider putting bike lanes here, maybe there will be some change. I actually started posting on Twitter some of the things that I come across on my bike commutes. Mostly as a way to be like, hey, the city planners who want to look at how to incorporate bikes into your traffic flow, here's how not to do it. I would plug my Twitter, but the Twitter account that I have is more for the funsies of it. It's not really for work. I had briefly considered having a Twitter account just for work stuff, but I already tried that from like 2013 to 2017. And then I left the platform because, as it turns out, comics Twitter is awful. I'm so glad that I left. Tabletop RPG Twitter is okay, all things considered. I haven't come across too much drama. I say, even though a couple of weeks ago there was the Satine Phoenix and her boyfriend drama that happened. We're not going to get into that right now. Just know that it was messy. It's still messy, from what I understand. We'll see if anybody learns from it. I know the internet has kind of a short memory. I'm going to save my progress before I forget. And we're going to sit on the screen for a second. Because the way this computer works is if I hit save and then I click away from the screen before this writing to file thing finishes, if I click away from it and then come back, this program loses all pen sensitivity for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's because I am running this off of a laptop, and the laptop can only handle so many things at once. Also, this piece is huge. I am working at like 1,200 dots per inch, which is a lot of dots. For context, whenever you're working with most print, like when you're working with most designs that are intended for print, you work at 300 dots per inch. I'm working at 1,200 dots per inch. So it's a lot. I mean, looking at your comment here, everything Twitter is bad. You're not wrong. To be fair, that's probably why Elon Musk is trying to bow out of buying Twitter. He's probably trying to bow out of it because he realizes it is one of the worst cases of billionaire shopper's remorse, and I am here to watch him flail about. Honestly, he deserves it. I need a nap. I didn't get a whole ton of sleep last night. and my headspace has not been super duper present today because of that. I was like real deep into REM sleep when the alarm went off. So I've been feeling like I've been in a walking dream state for the last like 6 hours. Kind of need to lay down for a nap, if only to reset. I will say the reason that I'm not adding book titles or anything is because I'm going to zoom out and show you. Putting titles on the books are not hugely relevant because this piece is already so freaking huge. So we're just going to do squiggles. This is one of those instances where a newbie digital artist would take the time to actually hand write book cover titles on there. But like, I've been at this for a hot minute. And while I don't know everything, I know that you don't want to put a whole ton of material on something that most people won't zoom in on. Just save yourself the frustration. It'll be fine. I'm going to put an extra book here. Boom. Okay, that's one facing done. We're going to save our progress. And I'm going to drink some water. Oh, almost forgot. I reordered some stock sticker mule prints, some miscellaneous things that I carry for conventions and for my online store. I got a restock. I was going to say refill. A restock of some pins. And as soon as I get done with this facing of books, I can do an unboxing, I guess, and show you what I got. Okay. The pencil layer for this part is a little messy, but that's okay. Now, if you're looking at the tools that I am working with, which is on the left-hand sidebar over here, I currently have it set to like straight line, curve, polyline, all of these, which these are all under a subtool called Direct Draw, apparently. And you may be wondering, why is it that this straight line that you're working with is so absurdly thick compared to everything else? That's because everything else, I have not configured it to the dots per inch scale that I'm working with right now. If I need to go into any of these other tools, I'm going to have to make the lines a little bit thicker, because I'll tell you what, a line looks very different at 300 dots per inch versus 1200 dots per inch. You know what? I'm gonna show an example. I'm gonna make a new document, 8 inch, 300 DPI. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So, and this is at, let's zoom this in at 100%, just for the sake of so that you can see the example. 97.2. That's as close as we're going to get. This There we go, 99. I actually should be able to get this to 100. 97. Okay, that's... There we go, 100. I'm trying to get these at the same... There we go. Now they're both at 100% zoom in. So what I have here is my straight line tool, which on this canvas, 1200 dots per inch, the straight line tool I'm working with is set at 20 wide. And it looks like this. If we take that same tool to the 300 dots per inch canvas and we draw that line, it's thicker. And I'll show you. Ooh. It's somewhat thicker. Might be a little bit more obvious with the G pen tool. So on the 300 dots per inch canvas, the 20 size brush that I have would look like this. Over on the 1200 dots per inch canvas, it looks like this. But yeah, just to show you an example of how it all works. Some of the angling on these books will need to change because of the perspective. So I'm keeping my eyes out for that as I work. I'm going to bring the direct tool down from 20 to 18 a little bit just for these divisions here. Other things that I can talk about. My webcomic, The Legend of Jamie Roberts, just finished up chapter 6. So if you have not read my webcomic, The Legend of Jamie Roberts yet, now may be a good time to catch up on it. Wow, words. Hold on. I got to drink some more water, apparently. Okay. Now would be a good time to catch up on it before chapter 7 starts posting. Now, I don't know if this is a regular thing among comic artists, or particularly webcomic creators, but what I've been doing is whenever a chapter ends and before another one starts, I take at least 2 weeks between the end of one chapter and the start of another one. And I don't post anything new on the webcomic site. The reason I do that is, I need a break. Also, prevents me from burning out. Also gives me some space to build up pages ahead of time. Because you never know when an emergency may strike and you won't be able to keep up the updates. There is a scheduling feature, which I'm grateful for. But it is just nice to have stuff done ahead of time because of emergencies. Did somebody just text me? Just heard my phone vibrate, but I'm not expecting any texts from anybody. Save progress so far. Get that done. Ooh, okay. Sorry. Books that I'm drawing right now and their relative thinness made me think of this. So I've been participating in the summer reading program at my public library because support your local libraries, man. As I'm doing that, I've been taking advantage a lot of books that are under 300 pages long, fiction or nonfiction. And can I just say, I want to sing the praises of books that are under 300 pages because, good lordy, there are so many good ones out there. There are some good ones that are under 200 pages. You don't need to read like an absurdly long book to get enjoyment out of it. I mean, if that's your thing, cool, but it's not a requirement. Thank goodness. I actually have several new books in the making right now. Most of them are going to be released as PDFs. Just full disclosure. That may sound a little weird because previously I would do Kickstarter or other crowdfunding campaigns, but primarily Kickstarter, to fund print runs for the books and get the books in print. But the next bundle of books that I have in mind are going to be ebooks only. And that may sound unusual to you, but the reason I'm doing that is A, printing costs are absurd right now. The Roxy book run that I just finished, turns out the quote that I was working with when I priced the books originally was the wrong one. They actually cost more to print than I had anticipated. So once I get the pre-order listing for Roxy on my shop updated so that you can just order Roxy without pre-ordering it, the price will be different. The pre-orders for the book were $5. Once Roxy is ready to post on my online store, copies are going to be $8 a piece. And again, that's because printing costs are really high, especially right now. So I'm doing my best with what I have and with what I can. Just letting you know now. But because printing costs are what they are right now, the next bunch of books that I'm going to release are going to be ebooks. Because that's gonna save me from printing up a bunch of books. What else about them? Only one of them is a comic. The other two, well, one's a prose novel, and that I'll get into that one in a second. And the other one, as soon as this airplane is done flying overhead. I don't think the mic is picking it up, but I can hear it, and that bothers me. Yeah, of the 3 books that I'm putting together right now, only one of them is a comic. One book is a novel, and I'll get into the particulars about that one in a second. And the other book is for tabletop RPGs. The particulars about the novel are that I put together a PDF so that beta readers can read it, because I'm looking for a little bit of feedback on it. I want to make sure that it makes sense in its current iteration before I publicize it. So I am in the market for beta readers. If you like to beta read stuff, hit me up. You can also go to my website at kelciidcrawford.com. That's KELCID as in dog, Crawford.com. My contact info will be under, pretty sure I have a little tab that says contact, but my contact information is there. Oh, before I forget, let's catch up on comments real quick. Weird. Somebody's quoting lyrics in my thing. That's odd. And this isn't really giving me the option to put them in timeout either, so. Oh well. We'll see what happens here in a minute. Oh, let's try that again. I'm wondering if the comment is a bot that noticed something that I said and just commented all at once. Because there is no gap between all those comments. You know, that reminds me. I had given this some serious thought before my Instagram account got hacked, but I'm giving it some thought again. I'm giving some serious thought about just not having Instagram anymore. To be perfectly real with you. Reason being, there's a lot of bots. And like, I know that's weird to say because we were just bitching about Twitter, but Instagram has so many bots and they like to troll through particular hashtags that I use. And that's really unfortunate. I would like to see more social media apps that artists can really thrive on. For the time being, it really seems like only Ko-fi or I mean, Instagram is hit or miss. I will say there are times where Instagram really does not like creators who fly the rainbow, let's say. And that's more than worrisome. Especially considering some of the rhetoric that some people are throwing out nowadays. I'm also thinking a lot about this because, like, earlier today, some of my coworkers. Here's the thing about working at Chipotle. Usually there's music that plays on the Bluetooth speaker. And usually somebody hooks up their playlist from their phone to the Bluetooth speaker and shit just plays. And I don't mind when that happens. It helps the day go by faster. Today, that didn't really happen. So it was just kind of quiet. So people started having conversations. And I don't know when the heck this person started working at this particular location, but there is one coworker who I don't know what flavor of Jesus she loves, but she tends to talk about church a lot. And that makes me nervous. She hasn't spoken with me about that sort of thing, probably because I give off like major butch vibes whenever I'm in uniform. Cuz like I tuck my hair up under my hat. So whenever I do that, it looks like I have a completely shaved head. And I'm already pretty like there's a reason I go to the gym. Let's say that. But it's probably because of those vibes that she hasn't really tried to talk to me about that stuff. And honestly, good. I'd rather not talk about that stuff. But overhearing some of their conversations made me go, ugh, straight people. So I don't usually think that very often at this job, but on a day where I just think, ugh, straight people, it's kind of a meh day. Given that coworker's particular flavor of Christianity, and I have a podcast buddy of mine who talked about some of her very conservative relatives are posting on Facebook again. I'm wondering what the heck has happened recently that has the evangelicals clutching their pearls. Because, like, they only really tend to talk. I mean, they talk about this stuff a lot, but they get exceptionally vocal about this kind of stuff when something doesn't go their way. And I'm wondering what thing has not gone their way. Maybe it's the reaction of anybody with a brain stem, given what the Supreme Court has been doing. But we'll see. Flavor of Jesus is back on tour this summer. Yeah, that would probably explain all of the like Jesus is my buddy socks that I'm seeing at Kroger and some shit. Like, if you're cool with Jesus, cool. There's a difference though between being cool with Jesus and being cool with Christianity. Because I'm going to get religious here for a second. I have noticed that there's a difference between people who call themselves Christians and people who actually practice the practicings and teachings of Jesus. The two are not the same. And the people who actually give a shit about Jesus's teachings, I'm generally cool with. People who only want to support the church, you're kind of on my shit list. And I'm not just saying that because of being raised Church of Christ. And at one point, I was actually engaged to somebody who said he was ex-Jehovah's Witness, but he was a Jehovah's Witness. Like, he said that he had left the faith and he didn't practice that anymore. But as soon as I started talking about tarot, he was like, that's the devil's tools. And I'm like, yeah, you're still a witness. There were other red flags about that as well. It wasn't just his reaction to me talking about tarot or anything like that. There were other red flags too. The dude was nothing but walking red flags. In fairness, I was 18 and he was the first serious relationship that I ever had. Also, the modeling in my family wasn't exactly healthy. Well, then I'm going to flip the canvas for a second. Aha! Okay. I needed to figure out a good angle at which to draw the spine for this book. When in doubt, flip the canvas. Good. Oh, let's edit this line. You know what? I might just fit something in that little nook there. I'm going to try to squeeze something in there. I'm drawing a witch's study, so it's got to be something suitably witchy. I was thinking a crystal ball, but at the scale that it's at, it would be almost like a marble. So something else. If you have suggestions, shout them out in the comments. I'm open to suggestions for what to put in. Let me highlight this in red. In this little nook right here. Save the progress so far. What's that? Thank you for the clarification, Carlos, because I was wondering what had gotten the evangelicals clutching their pearls, but that makes sense. It was also kind of in the vein of what I was expecting. A smaller nook. Yeah, sure. Do one of those, like, I'd seen this pop up a couple of times online. I don't remember what platforms I would see it in, but like there is an artist who will basically take a gap in a bookshelf, and they will build this like miniature scene that fits between the books as almost like a portal into another realm type of a situation, which is one, dope as heck. Two, might look a little weird here because the book is at an angle. Unless I wanted to make the extra nook at an angle, which I could do. You know what? Another book. I forgot that it was still red, so we're going to lock transparent pixels and make that black. Boop. Okay, fixed it. Flip the canvas again. Progressively smaller and smaller books until I am done. Excellent. The pain in the butt part is going to be adding in the lines to imply depth in that bookcase. Save progress again. Come to think of it, I could do that part in color rather than drawing out the lines. I think I'll do that. In fact, No, I better keep it consistent because I did the book depth illusion over here on the left. Past Kelsey! Making this more difficult than it needs to be. I'll keep I made a new layer for book depth. I'll go ahead and keep that anyway because I can draw the lines, and if I need to tweak the lines, then it's all on one layer, separate from all the other inks that I just finished. I am going to turn the pencil layer off, though, because the pencils are inaccurate. Let's put it that way. Okay. I'm actually going to make a new layer and call it Guide in all caps. We're going to draw that in green here. So the reason I'm drawing the guide is I want to get a more accurate representation of the perspective I'm working with here for each shelf. Let's actually put the inks at 25% so I can see what I'm drawing. I actually picked up a handy dandy trick about drawing in perspective from a tutorial recently. I'm actually going to draw this part in red. So this line and this line. Okay, awesome. I wanted to make sure, because the thing about this particular perspective trick that I picked up is that there's a part of your brain that will want to make this edge line on the bottom here and this edge line on the bottom over here. Part of your brain will want to make both lines parallel to each other. When you're working in perspective, don't do that. What you want is you want this to be at one angle and then this back line back here to be somewhat akimbo. Because that is more realistic. It's not mathematically accurate, but it is truer to life. So we're working with that. Okay, with this bottom line here, we're going to draw this at this kind of angle and this at this kind of angle, and then we're going to connect that here. Nope. Tricky thing about freehanding lines. There we go. This is actually somewhat easier to do traditionally than digitally. Is drawing the drawing this perspective grid as a point of reference. Correct the angle. Sweet. Cool. Reason I did that is because there. I need to get these angles. Because I need to know what angle these lines that I will be drawing will need to be at. I'm going to free transform that and squish it. Cool. So we got the guide for that shelf. I'm going to draw the guide for the next shelf. Then I will get to drawing the actual lines. Save our progress. While it's doing that, I'm going to go grab some water, so I will be right back. Adjusting the camera angle a little bit. Okay. Let's draw the next set of guides. We'll do the next set of guides in purple. Why not? Just to make it visually distinct from the other set. Oof, okay. So we're working with this as the bottom line. And this is our back line. Not perfectly parallel, which is what we want. We got that there. Draw this and this. And that gets us our front-facing square. It still needs to work with this line up here. Okay. So we got that. And we'll get those lines back here too. Oh, my wrist did a thing. Oof, it was really uncomfortable. This is going to sound like an innuendo, but my wrist, which I injured back in 2013. Oh, there we go. I don't know if the mic picked that up, but it just snapped back in place. I injured this wrist back in 2013, and it has mostly healed. But whenever it's like super humid and rainy outside, or I exercise this too much at weird angles, it gets really sore. And I have been exercising this wrist a lot lately. And I realize that sounds like an innuendo, but the reason that it hurts so much is because of some of the things that I'm doing at Chipotle, which is primarily like cutting things, washing dishes, and smashing things. So this has been getting a lot of work, and unfortunately it's very tired. So another reason to take a nap later. Well, I was very concerned that I lost pen sensitivity, but I was like, I didn't click away. It should be fine. It's fine. Okay. I'm going to flip the canvas, make sure everything's okay. Okay. So with that, the angle up a little bit. Sometimes just changing the angle of the paper makes drawing lines easier. Perfect. And now I have my guide for that. Excellent. Getting into the book depth layer. Get our pen tool, because we were working with the pencil tool for a little bit, but we have our pen tool, and now we can draw our depths. I'm not adding details. I'm just going to draw the covers. Not going to bother with, page divisions or spine curves or anything like that right now. Just making sure all of the lines are hunky-dory. This would be easier if I flip the canvas. I've actually been falling back in love with drawing again lately, which is so nice. I had almost fallen out of love with it because I had been using copy paste and other digital transformation tools a lot. And while they are handy for drafting certain things, it does remove a lot of the joy of just freehanding things. And I was missing freehanding a lot of stuff, like lines. And I'm slowly getting back into it again. And it's been really nice to do that. I'm actually going to edit those curves because those were drawn at the wrong angle. Try it again. There. Save progress so far. It only looks messy. We will be tidying this up soon. Okay. I'm really glad that I drew the guides in. This is making this part a lot easier to handle. Sweet. All right, let's turn that guide layer off for a second. And now, well, we might need that guide layer back in just to get the back angle behind the books. I'm leaving it. Almost considering Control Z to undo it. I'm just going to leave it. Oh, the guide layer needs to be reduced in opacity as well so I can see what I'm doing. Yes. Whoop. Okay. Yes. 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 Good. Oh, that looks so good. And then Clip Studio Paint did the thing. I fixed the thing. Every once in a while, Clip Studio Paint will be like, zooming in. Oh, your mouse's cursor is sitting in a completely different part of the canvas. So that tells me that you want to zoom in on this spot instead. And I'm like, no, that's not what that means. Oh, let's actually fix that. That book cover was sitting a little too long. It needed to be a bit thinner. We fixed it though. That line can get erased. This can get polished up a little bit better. That can get polished up a little bit better. So can that. This definitely needs polished up a bit. Okay. Oh, thinking about live streams again. So I keep telling myself that I'm going to branch out into streaming on like Instagram and Tumblr and stuff. I just haven't done that yet. In fairness, I did live stream on Instagram once, and that was a pretty okay time. And I'm thinking I may do that again. I need to improve the camera mounting setup that I have, though. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, because tomorrow I got to hit the gym anyway. In the same plaza that my gym sits in, there is a Five Below, and Five Below actually has some decent phone mounts that I've seen. So I'm going to nab one of those. That was on the wrong layer. We need to go into the 25% opacity layer and erase some of these lines here. Because these were edited lines. These were lines that I fixed. Because they were drawn at the wrong angle. Actually, let's get the marquee tool and we'll just use polyline to select it. That works too. Just select around the area that I want to clear out. Do the same over here. And I'll just take the eraser tool to this, some of this bottom part. erasing that back line. The book cover goes through it. Back to the book depth layer to erase a couple things. For one, the plants. The plants are going to sit in front of these lines. So we're going to erase those. Polish that corner up. Get rid of these strays. Get rid of that stray. I'm going to polish this up. There, that'll do it. Yes. Okay. Save our progress. I'm not merging the layers yet. I'll go ahead and draw the book depths for the next shelf down before I do that. It is a wrist wound. I'm catching up on comments right now. Hopping over to the Twitch version to listen while I go for my walk. Your Five Below stream. Don't tell me you're walking over to the Five Below right now, Carlos. I'm going to giggle if you are. Oh, let me turn that guide layer back on to draw the next set of lines. We're going to flip the canvas. Flipping the canvas makes it easier for me to draw these straight lines because then I can draw with my elbow as the pivot point rather than my wrist as the pivot point, which when you're drawing, that's what you want to do. You want to use your elbow as the pivot point, not your wrist. Oh, I need to put a wrist brace on. Okay, there. Okay, this is the last set of lines that I gotta do, and then the inks for this behemoth are done. I will be so glad when this behemoth is done. It's nearly there. Okay. Also, hi, Gary. I saw you in the comments. Yes. Took a couple of tries, but I eventually got it. Not that one. We'll stick with that one. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. Trying to think of other things to kind of babble about just to fill the space. Oh, I can talk a little bit about some of the books that I was talking about earlier that I'm putting together. Tangent off of that before I go any further. I helped my buddy Sean put together a book, and we found an outlet that was not Amazon that would help us get his book across as many bookstores and platforms as possible. So it was very exciting to me this morning to see that his book is now on the Barnes & Noble shelf. And I'm so excited about that because I'm like, hey, I helped make this book happen. I got an editor, and we figured out a platform to publish this book on, and it's great. So, well, through the Barnes & Noble website. That was the wrong key shortcut. But yes, it is available. I will be plugging that on my email newsletter and on a few different outlets. Hopefully I can get it on Instagram. Because I did also do the cover art for the book. So that's also wild to me to see my cover art sitting on the Barnes & Noble website. I'm just like, yes. We actually used a system to put his book together called a draft to digital. It is primarily for prose. I don't think it works with comics. That said, I am thinking about taking advantage of draft to digital for my own prose novel that I'm putting together and publishing this prose novel through draft to digital, because doing that, draft to digital then puts your book on so many different platforms, not just Barnes & Noble, not just Amazon, but other outlets. And it also makes it easier for public libraries and indie bookstores to find your title. So once my prose novel is at a point where I'm like, yes, I want to get this printed, I'm going to draft to digital to make that happen. But yes, I put together a prose novel, which is unusual because up to this point, I have been in comics almost exclusively. But this particular story that I wrote demanded to be written as a novel. And I was like, all right, I'm going to respect this wish. I think it came out great. But again, I'm looking for beta readers to give it a read and let me know in their feedback if stuff makes sense, how the book reads, and all that stuff. Because this is my first prose novel. I want to do it right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the spine curves were drawn at the proper angle, and they are. They are. We're not going to worry too much about that. Okay, so we'll leave the guides up. We'll save our progress. I'll take a drink of water. Of all of the nails that I still have intact, the only nails that I have left intact are my pointer and my thumb on my left hand, which is my not dominant hand. Everything else has been lost to the work shifts of Chipotle. Catching up on comments. Wow. Lord Airbos, happy to have you on stream. I remember the Art Institute of Pittsburgh workshop from like years ago. God, that was years ago. Yeah. I had originally gone to a summer workshop at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh to study animation. My thinking at the time in high school, because this was a high school program, my thinking was that I would go to study animation and then I would work in the animation industry while working on comics until the comics got big enough to do what I wanted them to do. But also working in animation would get me the like repetitive skill set that I needed to draw comics. That didn't necessarily pan out because the Art Institute of Pittsburgh was too expensive and they did not give me any kind of grant money. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a cheaper alternative. So I ultimately went to Bowling Green State University because they were in the same state as me. So I wasn't paying out of state tuition. They gave me a $3,000 scholarship right off the bat just for my ACT score. I never took the SAT. The ACT I took twice, just to make sure that my scores were decent. But first time I took it, I got a 29. The second time I got a 27, but still 29. Yay. It was that 29 score that got me that $3,000 scholarship to Bowling Green State University. And I'm like, hey, they're offering me this. I already have 2 other scholarships that will help cover at least the first year of college. I'm going to go to Bowling Green State University instead. Also, they had a learning community called the Arts Village where all of the arts majors could live and collaborate and work together and stuff. So that was worth that too. I'm still friends with a lot of the folks that I met at the Arts Village. In fact, one of them is my roommate. Yes, I remember you, Jake. Still into Dragon Ball Z. I will talk about it for days. Oh, this is an easy question to answer. What is a prose novel compared to a regular novel? I'm mostly saying prose novel to mean just a novel written with words. That's how I'm using it. There may be authors that will try to make distinctions, but for me, when I say prose, what I mean is it is just a novel written in words rather than drawn. Again, I'm used to doing graphic novels and comic books. So writing a novel with words and no pictures is different. It's not entirely outside of my comfort zone because I've written before. I have written fiction before. This would be a first to make it something that other people would read, though. Most of my previous writing excursions that were just the written word have been for my own personal benefit, not necessarily for anybody else's. So, again, this is why I want beta readers, because previously, I would be my own beta reader. And while I think I'm good, I would just like an outside opinion to look at my stuff and tell me if things make sense or if I need to clarify some things or what I need to do to make the best novel that I possibly can. Another thing I'm going to do is I just had the thought that I'm going to need to revisit my budget for this. I have one budget in place. I was thinking about putting in another one, but now, because what I want to do is I want to hire my friend Melanie from the Arts Village at Bowling Green State University. She's the one writer friend that I know who is an editor as kind of like her side hustle. But she's very good at what she does. There's a reason that I hired her to help edit the book that Sean was working on. I want to hire her again to edit this novel that I wrote because she is very good at what she does. And I want her feedback on this over everybody else's. Now, an editor and a beta reader are 2 different things. The editor is more than just somebody who pops in and is like, this is grammatically incorrect. The editor is also somebody who will read something and tell you, this is really hard for me to paraphrase because John Green already explained the role of an editor so freaking well. But what an editor does is they will read the book and give you super deep thoughts to think about to polish the work to the best that it can be. An editor is going to be somebody who will read a book and tell you, I can see that you were trying to work with this particular theme. The question that I would like to see you ask yourself with this novel is this. The beta reader's job is basically to read over the book and tell you, I felt this way while reading this part. This part wasn't super clear to me. Could you elaborate further? Could you rewrite this part because this might read the wrong way to some minority groups? That sort of thing. That's what beta readers are for. There can be times when an editor plays the part of a beta reader, but for the most part, the sort of feedback that I'm talking about is not an editor's job. That's the beta reader's job. I'm actually going to extend this line to make the cover longer. Yes. It's an unusual process to want to seek out beta readers, though. I'm telling you that now because in comics, from what I understand, working in comics, you don't have beta readers. You just make a thing. You may work with an editor for some parts, but when you're small press publishing your own comics, you don't necessarily have beta readers unless you're making a webcomic. When you're making a webcomic and you're posting updates like page after page after page, like once a week or so, people's comments and things are the beta reader feedback. Doubly so if you post almost exclusively to Patreon or Ko-fi or another crowdfunding platform. Save our progress. That said, if you want your comics game to improve significantly, get an editor. And there are comics editors out there. In fact, I may actually update my freelance services to offer to be a comics editor for folks. Because right now I'm a comics editor for an anthology project that some friends and I are working on. And at this stage in the process, I haven't needed to give too much feedback to too many people. But there have been some people who have reached out and they're like, hey, I'm at this stage of making the comic. Could you read this over and let me know this, and this? For some, it's like, this is my first time working in color. I need to make sure that these colors make sense. Can you give me some feedback on how I use color in this? Other times, other folks are like, so I haven't drawn anything yet, but I have the letters in place. Does the flow of the speech balloons make sense? That sort of thing. And that kind of feedback is what a comics editor is very good for. I will say also, I'm working with another comics editor on another anthology project. And this anthology project, I can't go in too much detail about. What I can say is that I am drawing the pages and the editor is looking over the pages at each stage and saying, this could be improved, this can be improved. I really like how you did this, blah, 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 blah. Kind of like a guiding hand teacher scenario, which I'm so glad that I'm getting the feedback that I am, because my game has improved significantly since working with this comics editor. So if you want to see your work improve, get an editor. Sean said the same thing when he talked about working with an editor, working with Melanie, who edited his novel. He was like, dude, her feedback helped me make the best shit. And I'm like, good. I also noticed how his writing did improve after getting that editor feedback. And that's what you want to have happen. You want the editor to give you the feedback so that you can make the best work that you can. Their job is it's not so much you did this wrong. It's here's how you can work on this to make it the best iteration that you can. I will improve the angle on that book, spine. Good. And I'm going to turn that guide layer off. Let's polish up some lines a little bit. For one thing, I'm going to erase this. That doesn't need to be there. Okay, we got that. And zooming in on this edge so that we can clean up these lines over on the side. That will do it. Heck yes. I want to move that book depth layer down, and we're going to merge that into the inks layer. We're saving that file. Give it a second. Beautiful. Oh. So that part's done. I do need to move these jars. These jars need to move. And they need to move to make the perspective make sense. Freehanding the lasso area won't help though, so I'm going to use polyline instead. Yes, because polyline makes it much easier to draw straight lines around a thing, around a given area that you want to work with. We're going to scooch this. I'm actually going to scooch this over this way. Yes. As much as I want to avoid tangents, given the bottom lip of these jars, at the same time, I don't mind putting some of the jars behind the books. I will, however, use free transform to push that back a little bit. Because the way those jars are right now, it doesn't make a whole ton of sense for this jar all the way to the left to sit where it did a second ago. Good. So that's fixed. I do need to erase these lines because we don't need those anymore. I will get the straight line tool back. I will clean this up. Boop. And boop. Yes. Excellent. And I got to draw the lines over here too. My goodness. For that, I'm actually going to make a new layer. Put the original inks at like half and draw this. I want to try that again so I don't tangent. When I say tangent, I mean having lines sit like kind of like how it sits on this like tea candle right here. Lines kind of bleed into each other like that. It's not my favorite thing. I'll do it because this is like as perpendicularly accurate as I'm going to get it to be, but I don't like how that sits. So we got those and got that line for the back part of the shelf. I'm going to use the polyline tool again. I'm actually going to use lasso. Sometimes the lasso tool is faster. I guess I only really needed the line for this teeny tiny square. The line did not need to sit anywhere else. Yeah, no. Control Y is redo, by the way. That does it for the inks. Thank goodness. Whew. This thing, this behemoth of a piece is taking entirely too long for my liking. Save progress. I should have had this done like last month. If not 2 months ago. This thing should have been done 2 months ago. I'm just now getting the inks done. This is taking too long. Catching up on comments. I know, I love it too. I love all the details. I love, like, I do love drawing. Again, I'm falling back in love with drawing. At the same time, it's like, this is so time consuming. I'm so used to getting things done quickly. So this has been a change of pace. I cannot tell you right now if that is a good or welcome change of pace, but it is a change of pace. To answer your question, Gary, of which should come first, beta reader or editor, it really depends. When it comes to writing books, nearly knocked over the microphone. When it comes to writing books and going through the editing and the reader process, it helps to look at it less like a line and more like a circle. Because I will tell you what, more oftentimes than not, you think that you will be done with a particular draft, particularly with the written word. This is a little less so with comics, because comics is a little bit more linear in its production cycle. But when it comes to prose, when you're writing the written word, it is less linear. So it could be that you write a draft, then you write the second draft, and then if you decide that, oh, you don't like the second draft, you're going to write the third draft. So you write the third draft, and then you send it to a beta reader or an editor for feedback, and they give you feedback, and then you make the next draft based off of that feedback, and then you send it to a beta reader or editor, depending on who you sent it to. They give you feedback, you go back, you write the thing again. It like John Green was not lying when he said that 80% of writing is just rewriting. And that is so accurate. And it can be frustrating for people who are familiar with making comics. Because again, making comics, fairly linear production cycle, where you start with a written script or some thumbnails. Then you draw based off of those thumbnails, and you work linearly in the production from pencils to inks to colors to putting in the speech balloons. There are some people who will put in the speech balloons at a different point in the phase, but that's on their workflow. It is still linear in structure how they work on a thing. Again, that's less so when you're doing a novel with the written word. Now, when you're writing for comics, this is something that I find very true. I have had it happen where I will write a script for a graphic novel or a comic. I will read it through and I will think, this needs a complete rewrite. And then I just completely rewrite the thing. Again, you never try to go with the first draft of anything that you write. That's just generally good writing advice. Try not to go with the first draft that you write up. First drafts are the word vomit phase. That's the phase where you open up a blank doc and you just word vomit words. You don't care about how those words look yet. You don't care about sentence structure or pacing or anything else. Your objective with the first draft is to just put words in the document. The second draft is when you go in and you read it back and you're like, this could get fixed. This could get fixed. I'm going to nix this line. I'm going to nix this part. I'm going to rewrite this part. That's all second draft stuff. First draft, just put the words on the document. Jeez. Okay. I actually have some shadows already figured out for this. That is what I will be working with for shadows. And for the sake of simplicity, I am only keeping the shadows to this. I will not be going in and adding double shadows into like the depths of the bookcase or anything like that. I'm not doing that. Any other piece, I would consider it. This piece, I actually want to keep the colors somewhat simple because this piece I'm working on, it's going to serve multiple functions. I will be putting it in a potential calendar. I will also be putting it on Redbubble for my side project, Kitties by Kelsey, which is kitty designs drawn by Kelsey. This is a piece for Kitties by Kelsey. Redbubble does best when you keep the colors simple. So to that end, I am keeping the colors as simple as I possibly can. Okay, saving. I'm not clicking away yet. I will, however, mark this task as done I keep a bullet journal. This is actually a new bullet journal. I filled out my previous one. This journal, shout out to Chloe for gifting this to me. I love this. It's also got a squishy cover. I love it. This is from Notebook Therapy. They have so many different like bullet journal things. They have washi tape, they have paint, they have journals. They have so much stuff for bullet journaling. I use bullet journaling to keep track of my daily to-do lists and the projects that I got to get done in a given week, just to keep up on my timelines. It's also a good way to track, for me, I use it to track my paydays, because I got more things going on than just Chipotle. I have a Ko-fi page. I have a Patreon page. Both of those pay out at different points. I also have an online store that pays out at different points. I also keep track of like online store orders in this, because like I have like a day entry, and in a day entry, if I make a sale in a day, I'll mark that down. It's also a good way to track like, hey, I had released a new product, and usually whenever I post a new product, people will buy it within like a day or two, which is nice. Oh, catching up on comments real quick. Oh, well, I might reach out to you about beta reading this book that I have, Gary, but I'm going to reach out to some other peeps as well. The Bowling Green, I'll highlight this one. The Bowling Green Writers Workshop might have people who can help with beta reading. That's good to know. I'm going to make a note of that. I need a journal just for scratch notes. Like, on the one hand, I have Evernote. I love Evernote. It makes tracking notes and finding notes so much easier. At the same time, like, I fill up their scratch pads so quickly. You know what? I'll go ahead and get the Evernote going. The other nice thing about Evernote is that I only have it synced up to 2 devices currently. One of them is my laptop. The other one is my phone. So, all right. I'm bringing up the Evernote app. I have it set to dark mode. Most apps and websites that I use, I have switched them over to dark mode to save my eyes. Oh man, I'm sorry that I made you crave Chipotle, even though it's 2 hours away, Jake. Mostly bringing it up because I work part-time at a Chipotle down the road from me now. It is really nice that it's within biking distance, though. Right, I was going to make a note on my scratch pad thing. To give you an idea of some of the other things that I have written in my scratch pad on Evernote, I'll read it out loud here in a second. Right, Bowling Green Writers Workshop. Okay. Yeah, this particular scratch pad note is getting full. Some of the other things that I have written here are a couple of notes for a D&D campaign that I'm homebrewing / running. I also have here s'mores crescent rolls, parentheses, with Nutella. This is a recipe that I found in like an air fryer recipe book, but I want to give it a try just in the oven. See how that turns out. A passive aggressive note about Hunter x Hunter, which I'm not going to read out loud. A little journalistic snippet. A note to make a TTRPG that uses percentile dice instead of a D20. This is something that has been a pet project of mine, a little nugget in the brain part. I haven't designed this game yet, but there is part of me that does want to design a tabletop RPG where instead of rolling D20s, you roll percentile dice. Just because I think the novelty of it is neat. Other note in the scratchpad file. If it sounds like rain, it's probably a gnome army marching. Another note, which I could probably write a full blog post about this. Harry Potter and Game of Thrones have something in common. Sunk cost fallacy. I mostly wrote this down because I had been thinking so much about how much the Harry Potter fandom fucking hates J.K. Rowling now. And like, I could write a blog post about how Harry Potter and Game of Thrones both have the sunk cost fallacy going on, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. That's an idea. Ren Fair idea. Borrow the chainmail glove from Chipotle for armor costume. For folks who don't know, working at Chipotle, whenever you are chopping up vegetables, because we actually chop the vegetables on site. When you're chopping vegetables, what you do is you have the knife in your dominant hand. Your non-dominant hand, you wear a chain glove. The aim with the chain glove is to protect you from accidentally cutting yourself. The chain gloves, though, are pretty darn cool. But yeah, we have chain gloves. We only ever wear them on one hand at a time. So, fun fact for you. Also, yes, we do chop a lot of our vegetables on site. Like the last, like I've only been there maybe a month, but the entire month that I have been there, they have been training me on all of the prep work that they do in the mornings. Because they come in well before the store opens to chop up vegetables, prepare the guac, make all of the salsas and all that stuff. Like everything is made at the store. So there you go. I didn't expect this stream to turn into a shill for Chipotle, but there you go. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here because there is more work to be done with this illustration. However, I want the finished product to be a surprise. So I will not be showing the process of this piece on any further live streams. The next time that you see this piece, it will be finished and it will be posted on the Kitties by Kelsey Redbubble site. And I'll make it the announcements when that time comes. Well, Jake, you and I are going to have to talk about like character builds because either your entire team targeted you because you were not a good team player or they targeted you because of how you built your character. It's one of the two. I'm saying that as somebody who has been a DM for 6+ years because I started DMing back in like 2015 at the latest. I'm pretty sure I started in 2014, but I've been at it long enough that like if an entire table is targeting you for whatever reason, it is either because you are not a good team player or you are building a character that the other players don't like. Yeah, I see your comment. Yes, so let's go ahead and shrink this screen down. We'll get into the post-stream announcements now. So, post-stream announcements. Thank you so much for watching, first of all. Second of all, I will not be live streaming this upcoming Saturday, unfortunately. Again, I started working at Chipotle, so they have me scheduled for a shift in the time slot that I would usually stream on Saturdays. Because usually I stream Tuesdays and Saturdays at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That, again, is, I've mentioned this in previous live streams, but this schedule may be liable to change because of working at Chipotle now, at least part-time. Okay, yeah, catching up on the comments. If you were the only chaotic evil character in a party where no other character was an evil alignment, yeah, that's an easy way to get targeted by the other players. I've had this happen in another campaign. I was not playing the evil character. There was somebody else who was at the table who did not jive at all with the other players. The other players were playing other various alignments. None of them were any evil alignment. And this one dude decided that he wanted to be chaotic evil, and he messed everything up for everybody else. Which, I will say this, if you think that you are playing a chaotic evil alignment, you are more than likely playing a chaotic stupid. Because even chaotic evil characters will want to work with other party members. Because lawful evil is, I will work with you because you and I have the same end goals in mind, even if our methods differ. A chaotic evil player a chaotic evil character will join a party because I like you. And that's all the reasoning that they need. So, yeah. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, so that's the thing. If you're going to be playing any RPG game, consider the alignment of the other players, and also consider how much of a pain in the ass you're going to be for the DM if you're going to play an alignment that is out of sync with everybody else. Because I will tell you what, it was not fun being the GM for the one chaotic evil player in a party of other alignments. Because, like, all of the players got fed up with this dude, and I was on my final straw with this guy. And not to mention, he was not a pleasant player for reasons outside of the game. But him deciding to play a chaotic evil alignment and then not jiving at all with the other players in and out of the game was like, you're not a good fit for this table. So, yeah, it just, okay. You say that you terrified even them. One, I'm going to call bullshit on that. Second of all, it just sounds like you did not jive with the team. And that's fine. It's okay to admit that you don't jive with a table. Just find another table to play with. So all of that said, if you would like to hear more hot takes about tabletop RPGs, I actually co-host a podcast called The Fourth Leg, giving new GMs a leg to stand on. That tagline was actually come up with by one of the other hosts of the podcast, Hunter. The podcast posts new episodes every other Friday. We've been doing a actual play stream of playing through a Powered by the Apocalypse system called Urban Shadows. If you would like to check that out, the easiest way to find it is actually going to be just going to my website, because I have a little icon for the fourth leg at kelseydcrawford.com. I don't think I have it linked in the doobly-doo, though given the amount of times that I've talked about this podcast previously, I really should put the link in the doobly-doo. But you'll find it on my website. You'll find a link to the podcast on my website. Thank y'all, everybody in the chat who joined on the stream. Happy to have you. Thank you to Water for being Water. I will be making a cup of tea, though, very soon. If you would like to check out some of the other stuff that I do, podcast and otherwise, or if you would like to catch up on previous live streams, all of my previous live streams are archived on my YouTube channel and at kelseydcrawford.com. I have other webcomics. The active ones that I have right now are The Legend of Jamie Roberts, which is about a genderqueer pirate and their two best friends treasure hunting in a land full of dragons. You can read that at thelegendofjamieroberts.com. now's a good time to catch up on the story because I just wrapped up chapter 6 and there's a small hiatus that I have the comic on right now so that I can build pages up ahead of time for chapter 7. So now's a good time to catch up on it. Check it out. Other than that, I don't know when I will be streaming next. Keep an eye on my website. Bring that link back up, kelseydcrawford.com. Check that out for further announcements. You can also follow my social medias. My social medias are going to be linked in the doobly-doo if you're watching this on YouTube. If you go to kelseydcrawford.com, my social media links are also there. That's all I got. Thank you all so much for watching. You are awesome.